What's up, guys? Welcome back to a new video here. So today we're going to be talking about a recent interview Mark Ruffalo did with Mehdi Hasan on Zateo, and it was really interesting for a number of reasons. Mark Ruffalo going in on Trump, basically saying this guy is totally out of control. It's almost a fiction, the world we're living in right now, that this is actually happening. This guy is a president once again. And also going in on the Democratic Party, criticizing the party for a number of mistakes they've made over the years, specifically how they railroaded Bernie Sanders. And Mark Ruffalo basically he's not taking no for an answer. He's absolutely going in. And we're going to show you a number of clips from this interview here, and we're going to discuss it afterward. So, and by the way, guys, thank you guys so much for the support. We're getting a lot of growth recently, so I really appreciate all your guys' support throughout this process here. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers, so try and hit that subscribe button. We'll try and get there very soon. And if you want to become a member, hit the join button below as well. So here's the first clip of Mark Ruffalo on Mehdi Hasan going in on Trump. So here's the first clip, and we'll talk about it in just a minute. Thanks for watching, guys. Here's the first clip.
And again, can't get any more unbelievable. Since we did that interview, Donald Trump incited an insurrection, lost the election, went into private life, was supposedly finished, got prosecuted, got found liable for sexual abuse in a civil trial in New York, and then came back and became president again, and now is doing all this shit again. Again, if somebody gave, same question. If somebody put the script in front of you now saying, this is what's happened, this is the movie.
I'd quit
this is
the business. I'd be like, we're sunk. This business is so unrealistic. It's so unrealistic now. But it's beyond fiction now. It's beyond fiction. And we don't know where it's, you know what though? I believe with every difficulty, there's a gift inherent in it. And with every action, there's a reaction, equal reaction. Just like we came out of last Trump and we had probably one of the most progressive presidents. I mean, you know,
on domestic terms.
Yes, on domestic terms, Biden was probably one of the most, since FDR probably. He didn't do a good job of communicating that. None of them did. They ran away from their progressive credentials, you know. They did some fucked up shit on climate, you know. But that's in the offing. If we can save our democracy, we will have a revitalization, reimagination of democracy, and we're seeing it happening with all these little, you know, these candidates coming up who are connecting to people.
The Mumdanis, not the Jeffreys.
Yes.
Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure. Let our viewers, listeners know where they...
Okay, so there's a lot of interesting things he says there. Number one, again, he talks about how basically, you know, he incited an insurrection. Mehdi Hasan brings up, he incited an insurrection, all of his legal problems. You know, even, guys, if you remember, after the midterm election of 2022, people kind of thought Trump was really done. I mean, I didn't think that. A lot of people didn't actually think that, but a lot of people thought DeSantis was going to be next one up. A lot of Trump's nominees in 2022 that he endorsed got trounced. A lot of the election deniers, they got absolutely destroyed in the midterms elections. And people thought, you know what, that's probably it for Trump. And as we know how that turned out. You know, the guy became a convicted felon, and he won the presidency once again. And now here we are now. I mean, it really is genuinely insane. This is where we're at. But I do think he makes a good point, Ruffalo, where he brings up the fact that, you know, in many cases there is a reaction to this. You know, hey, you got a far-right guy in Trump, or that's how he's viewed at minimum. He's a far-right guy. And you know what this is probably going to mean? It's probably going to give an avenue for the progressives to come up and have a nominee who's on the pretty far left in 2028. Again, we're seeing that right now. A lot of the popular Democrats, they're on the far left of the party. They're on the Democratic Socialist wing. You see the Bernie Sanders, for example. He's one of the most popular candidates, if not the most popular Democratic politician there is right now. Look at people who are getting traction in the Democratic Party right now. It's the Zoran Mamdanis of the world. It's the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Look at the polling for Chuck Schumer versus Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in New York. AOC, if the election was right now, AOC would trounce Schumer, which is one of the reasons why I think Schumer is actually being pretty strong and not caving to Trump in this government shutdown fight, because he knows, hey, my base is not going to like this. I need to actually kind of grow a sack here and actually fight. That's what Democratic voters want. That's why the Democratic Party popularity rating is so low right now. Of course, all the Republicans don't like them, but even many on the left are not happy with the Democratic Party right now because they're viewed as weak and pathetic. They don't do anything. Okay, but I do think it's interesting how he brings up the point how, in many cases in politics, this is how it works. There'll be a reaction to Trump. The reaction to Trump is going to be, you're going to have someone on the progressive left, which is why I think this is the perfect opportunity for a potential celebrity to get in the ring, like a Jon Stewart, for example. I think he really could make rounds in a Democratic process. Again, I know people think Gavin Newsom has a chance, and he could very well be the Democratic nominee in 2028, but something tells me it's not going to be him. I think you're going to see, if someone like Jon Stewart gets in the race and runs, I think he's probably going to win. I really do, guys, because I think he's popular, he's progressive, and frankly, he comes across as someone who knows what he's talking about. And he's well liked by a lot of the general public. He's charismatic. He's funny. It's exactly what the Democrats need if they actually want to win elections. So, really interesting point. And then we're going to go in the next clip I'm going to show you. He goes in on the Democratic Party and a lot of the mistakes they made over the last couple of years. I mean, especially with Bernie Sanders, which I feel very strongly about that. We're going to get into how the Democrats basically screwed over Bernie in 2016, but I think even more so in 2020. So absolutely wild stuff. Here's a clip and we'll talk about it in just a minute.
And the American people knew that Iraq was bullshit. The American people knew it was amoral.
And that they've been lied to.
And they've been lied to.
You take Iraq, you take the financial crisis to crash in 2008, and you're creating a toxic brew for a populist to run on as an anti-establishment
100%. And then you kill Bernie. Then you kill Bernie. You kill any kind of talk of socialism, which is what the antidote to populism is. Yeah. It's what FDR knew.
Yes.
Okay? It's how FDR fought it and won. You kill that within the Democratic Party, like we're seeing happen with Mamdani right now, and Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Okay, yes. You kill that language, you kill that possibility, and what does the American people have left but populism? And so where do they
what
go?
kind of populism is it? That's the thing. Is it
right-wing
populism?
Right, yes. The kind of populism that others people,
yes,
that creates white nationalism, that I mean, it isn't even these people are getting screwed. Yes. The mega people, for anyone who's left there, they either are completely like out of it and don't watch the news and aren't paying attention to anything, or they're so ideologically twisted and part of this cult that they've deceived themselves beyond, but I can't see how long that's going to hold.
I think we live in, unfortunately, because of social media, he can create that echo chamber that they stay in. So Epstein files are not released, they're fine with it. Tax cuts to billionaires, not fine.
No,
they're
he's
fine
a hero. He's an FBI informant.
FBI informant, according to Speaker.
Working for the FBI.
That's your next role.
Undercover.
That's your next FBI role.
Undercover to infiltrate the Epstein world and save democracy.
Mark, that's your next role. If Sebastian Stan, if the Winter Soldier can play Donald Trump, Mark Ruffalo can play Donald Trump as an FBI informant.
I already did.
Uncovering the paedophile scandal in this country.
I did it in Mickey 17.
So the key point, as you're pointing out, is there's this anger. The Trump knows how to channel it. The left could have channeled it through Bernie. They could channel it now through Mamdani.
Yes.
They're choosing not to. Instead, you have Hakeem Jeffries, who Charlemagne calls Apac Shakur. You have Chuck Schumer, all friends of Wall Street, friends of big tech. These guys won't even endorse Mamdani. Like, are they the leaders the Democratic Party need at this moment?
Okay, so again, I think it's really interesting, and he's absolutely correct when he talks about how the party screwed over Bernie. Because do I think Bernie would have won in 2020 against Trump? Yeah, I actually do think he would have won. And frankly, I actually think Bernie would be able to better communicate the platform he was running for if he was running in 2024, or his vice president would have been better equipped to actually communicate their policies. Unfortunately, what we've seen, we saw Biden, who was unable to communicate his policies, which is basically what Ruffalo and Mehdi Hasan are saying there. Because Biden was absolutely domestically a relatively progressive president, very progressive compared to the average president, more progressive than Obama domestically, not even a question about that. And again, the thing about the Democrats, what they did wrong, specifically in 2016, again, people didn't even know who Bernie Sanders was before he ran for president in 2016. It's just true. They did not know who he was really. And then again, he was popular, people liked his message, and he became super popular. Very similar to what we're seeing in New York City with Zohran Mamdani. But again, what we saw in 2016 was those superdelegates rally around Clinton, and basically they shut Bernie out, which is everyone basically just crowned Hillary as, you know what, she's going to be the nominee, and that's that. Do I think Bernie could have beat Trump in 2016? I think it's totally possible, because he had similar appeal. Trump ran as a right-wing populist, Bernie ran as a left-wing populist. And I think in 2020, people talk about 2016, 2020 was even worse what they did to Bernie. It was genuinely wild what they did to him. Bernie, people forget, was the front runner in that race the entire time up until South Carolina, where Jim Clyburn dropped out of the race and endorsed Joe Biden. Biden did not even, he even fourth place in the Iowa caucuses, guys. Fourth place. And again, why did he end up winning? Because again, before Super Tuesday, all of the so-called moderate candidates, Pete Buttigieg and, for example, who was the other candidate? And who was the other candidate that dropped out in 2020? It was Buttigieg and basically all the moderates, Amy Klobuchar, they all dropped out and endorsed Biden. And basically that's why he won. What did the progressives do wrong in the Bernie Sanders wing? Elizabeth Warren accused Bernie of being a sexist on television, which is absurd, saying that Bernie said a woman can't be president. Does anyone believe Bernie Sanders actually said that? I mean, give me a break. And not only that, in Super Tuesday, Elizabeth Warren, when she had no chance of winning the election, she stayed in the race, which screwed over Bernie. So Bernie split the vote, and that allowed for Biden to win. Bernie could have easily been the nominee. He probably should have been the nominee in 2020. But again, it was decided that Bernie Sanders would be the nominee, and Joe Biden would be the nominee. And that's why Bernie, he had no chance. He had no chance. And I think they're talking about a lot of the problems. But again, I think you're seeing a lot of the steam in the Democratic Party right now. march towards the progressive wing. And I think you're going to see in 2028 that nominee is probably going to be a progressive, which is why I don't know if I buy the Gavin Newsom hype. But it's going to be super interesting to see, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to like and subscribe. It's super good for the algorithm, and it helps the channel immensely. And if you want to become a member, hit the join button below as well. My Patreon's below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great night. Let's try and get to 2,000 subscribers with this video. Have a great night, and I'll see you later.